I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. What's up, people? How you doing? It is a great day, and I'm so very excited to have you guys here with us. We have a guest today. He's an author. You guys know how I feel about authors. It's Stefan Estopinal, and we'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere.
I did to be different. I did to be different. I did to be different. I did.
Welcome back to the show. So we have an author on the show, Mr. Estopinal is here today, and I'm so excited to have him. Welcome to the show.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me.
Oh, thank you. So tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a retired civil engineer and land surveyor, and one of the hobbies I had when I was working was I was a living history reenactor for the Battle of New Orleans. And as a surveyor, you have to research a lot of documents and papers, and you get to learn a lot of history about where you're working. And then as a living history reenactor, I got to learn more about the history, particularly around the late 1700s, early 1800s in South Louisiana and the South in general. And that got me so interested in it that I began to write novels about characters that happened during this period of history. And I had a lot of fun writing them. I had a lot of fans, enjoyed reading them. And so before you know it, I'm really working on my 10th novel right now.
10th novel?
Yeah, 10th novel.
Oh
and
my gosh.
they've been very well received, and I enjoy writing them, and people enjoy reading them. And we're here today to talk about The Man from Red Hill.
That's right. My gosh. So, okay. So, what about this book? I mean, is this like a history book or is it not a history book? Because,
yeah, it's a historical fiction, which means it is not a history book.
I gotcha.
So you're not going to get names, dates, and he was president then and this guy was no. It's going to be a story that follows an individual as he goes through his life. The story begins in 1832 in the Cherokee areas of Georgia or Tennessee. And as you go through his life and as he progresses to different locations and experiences different things, history happens all around him, but the story is about him and how he reacts to it, and then where he finally ends up at the end of the story. But it's an entertaining novel. I have friends that claim it's their favorite one, but I got a lot of novels, so I can't claim any of them as my favorite. But it's a very interesting one. It starts out, like I say, in 1832 in the Cherokee Nation, which was in Tennessee and Georgia. And the turmoil that happened shortly thereafter was where the United States government forced Indians to relocate to Oklahoma. Well, during that, he winds up going to Texas and getting involved in the Texas Revolution because of his association. He was referenced there by a friend of Sam Houston, who happened to have been living with the Cherokee for a long time and was a very big advocate for the repeal of the Indian Relocation Act. And so he winds up in Texas in the Texas Revolution. He winds up back in Tennessee for the Trail of Tears to transport evacuees by riverboat, which people don't realize that a lot of the Cherokees went by riverboat. The Cherokee that were rich, the Cherokee that weren't rich, they had to walk, and they had it was a bad time for everybody. But anyway, this story is about him experiencing that particular part of history.
Wow.
So
It does sound like a history book, though.
You have a good idea of the Trail of Tears and of the Texas Revolution, ideas you probably didn't get reading your little history book.
No. I mean, I knew that, the Cherokees were in Georgia. I'm not going to lie, because like a lot of my family's from Georgia. We kind of mixed in, but we weren't mixed in with the Cherokee. We were mixed in with the Seminole and
Seminole, the South
and
of Cherokee Nation.
right. And then when we moved to New Mexico, because they sent us to New Mexico
Right.
as slaves, we
Mhm.
mixed in with the Chihuahua Indians there, so Mexican. So I
Mhm.
got like
Chicago, yeah,
Seminole and Mexican in me.
yeah.
Go figure.
That's
Uh,
how it was. And
yeah.
amazingly, I discovered that some of the Cherokee relocated by accepting the treaty. Some of them were forcibly relocated, and a lot of them just disseminated out into the surrounding territories. Some went to the Seminole Nation. A lot of them went to New Orleans and just mixed in with that particular population there. And
Hmm.
of course, in New Orleans, everybody looks like they're from somebody else. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a mix of people. So it was a very interesting. I had a lot of fun researching it. I had a lot of surprises in my research, and then
Wow.
what the book does, it kind of brings you through that history, so that when you finish, you can say, "Oh, that was a very entertaining story, very interesting," and I learned a little bit about those times in history.
I love the fact that you really went into the history before you wrote the book or during the book to get the truth so that you can make a story that seems real but isn't.
Right, right. I did a lot of research before I wrote the book. Read several history books. I read some that were diaries from relocatees, and I read a lot of history that was written in way after the fact. I have some were things that were written when it was happening, and then of course I also looked into some of the histories of what was happening in New Orleans and Louisiana and the rest of Mississippi and Alabama while all this was going on. So
Mm.
because a lot of times things that happen far away have an impact on what's happening to you right here. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that research quite a bit. And then, of course, the characters in the book are creations of my imagination.
Wow.
But the things that they go through, somebody really went through that.
I know. That's crazy. Is it? And oh, okay, so what about a civil war between the tribes, like within that tribes?
Yes, there was when the Relocation Act began. The federal government, offered a treaty to the Cherokee that they would pay them for their land and relocate them to Oklahoma and give them land in Oklahoma. And some of the Cherokee were for that because they could count and they could see that they were being outnumbered tremendously by the people coming in from Europe. So that was called the Treaty Party. Well, there was another bunch of Cherokee that said, "No, this is our nation. We have a nation. This is where our nation is. We're going to fight for our nation right here." That was called the Nationalist Party. There was a third group that people don't talk about, and that was the group that said, "Well, the heck with both you guys. I'm going to go move somewhere else and raise my family in New Orleans or South Texas or Arkansas or wherever they decided to go." Well, the Nationalists and the Treaty Party were so violently opposed to one another that when the Treaty Party finally moved and they finally forced the Nationalists over to Oklahoma, the Nationalists took over and condemned the leaders of the Treaty Party to death, and they killed about 6 of them.
Mm,
Had them executed because
mm.
they were for the treaty. It was very violent, and it was Cherokee against Cherokee,
Oh,
and the ones that decided I'm not going to be involved in this, I'm going elsewhere. They were shunned by the Cherokee, especially the Nationalists. The Nationalists were very upset with anybody who wasn't a nationalist. But you got to expect that we're talking about 1835, 1840. Emotions ran high and feelings were strong and people were very forceful. And that's what happened. That's history.
that's crazy. Wow. And you based your book off of this. This is not a history book, though.
No,
That's
no,
what's
no, it's
killing
not a
me.
history book. You're gonna see things in historical settings, but you're not gonna get a lecture. It won't be a lecture. There'll be background and the major characters of the Cherokee. The Nationalist Party was led by a man named John Ross. And John Ross's Cherokee name was Mysterious Little Whitebird. Well, John Ross only had one grandparent that was Cherokee. He had 3 grandparents that were European. To give you an idea of how the Cherokee had been assimilating immigrants from Europe for couple hundred years. And then they had the leader of the treaty party was a guy by the name of Major Ridge. His Cherokee name was Man Who Walks the Ridge, but he went by Major Ridge. And those are the two competing factions. Now, in the Cherokee Nation, they lived in farmhouses like the settlers everywhere lived in farmhouses. They had little towns with houses. They had a printing press. They printed a Cherokee language newspaper. Now we're talking about 1832. They printed a Cherokee language newspaper, and one of the big fights was over who was going to run that newspaper, the Nationalists or the Treaty Party.
Oh my gosh.
So there's a lot more to it. When you read the history book, it's like they were forced to Oklahoma. Terrible thing, very bad. But man, when you start digging into it, it was really a rough time for the Cherokee. It was a hard time.
Mm. Wow, that is crazy. That is
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. But again, I have to go back to this. I love the way you studied first and then you wrote your book. And your book, I mean, it's beautiful. It's The Man from Red Hill. And this is your 9th or 10th novel, you said?
The Man from Red Hill was my 8th.
Oh
My
my
9th
gosh.
was Beneath the Bonnie Blue Flag, and I'm working on my 10th.
Wow.
Each one, in each of these books, I pick out a time in history that's not well studied in your civics class or your history class, American history. I pick out a time that's kind of not well known. Then I research it, and then I develop a story that follows the where history forced these people to go, how it caused people to act, and I enjoy it quite a bit. And I got a bunch of fans that just love it. Every time I finish one, the next thing I get, what's the next book? What's the next one going to be about?
My gosh. Okay, so wait, okay, I have to ask you this question because these are novels. They're not like short stories or
No,
100.
no.
How many pages are these novels?
Well, it varies. They go from about 400 pages to maybe 350 pages, depending upon which one you pick up. They generally run between 100,000 to 180,000 words, some 120,000 words up in that
Okay.
range.
Wait, how do you do that? What is your writing besides studying? Okay, besides studying, what is the process that you go through to do that many words, to do that many pages?
Well, it's funny. My wife always asks me that. And what I do is, first of all, I don't watch a lot of television. There's a lot of time wasted watching TV. But when I'm reading my history and doing the studying, I'm thinking about how it would be to experience some of the things that some of these people I'm reading about experience. And I put together a story while I'm doing this research, and then maybe I'll decide, well, I want to research this other area because that character is going to go to that area. Finally, when I get down to finally writing, I'm remembering the story. I'm not making it up because I've already kind of put it together while I'm doing the research. And it's a lot of fun doing it. It really is.
Wow. Well, I aspire to write something with that many words.
Right. You need to. The most important thing is to start. You
Yeah,
know, once you
yeah.
start, that begins it. And then
I
of
got a
course,
quarter of that one time,
oh, that's good. Well,
and it's in the editing
and then
stages. Just
the
a
important
quarter.
thing is when you get to the end, don't try to make it perfect because you'll
Right.
never write the perfect novel.
No, no, I'm
You
not a
try to make it
perfectionist.
perfect, it'll never get printed. So,
I know that. I'm nowhere near perfectionist. I'm more like, well, that's it. That's all I can do. Okay,
well,
that's done. I'm
that's
done.
your story. You need to put it down. You need to write it. It's a
Definitely,
lot of fun.
definitely. My gosh, wow. I want to thank you so much for being on the show, Stefan. Where can people find these novels?
Okay, well, of course, I'm on Amazon. So you just go to Amazon.com and put in Stephen Estopinal and all my books will show up. But if you need a book title to remember, that Amazon will remember, Escape to New Orleans, which is the chronologically the first one. That will get you to all the books. Or you can go to estopinal.com. That's ESTOPINAL.com. And that's my webpage, and you can get any of the books there.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have those links in the description box below, so it'll be easy for you guys to go ahead and get in there and
Oh,
get that for
good.
yourself. That way we don't have any, oh, I didn't spell it right. No, no, no. It's down there,
Okay,
darling. It's
right.
there. Okay.
All righty.
Oh, Mr. Estopinal, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. And
Please call me Steve.
Okay, well, then there you go, Stephen. Listen, keep the books coming, brother.
I'm halfway through number 10 right now.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What are you doing to chase your dream? I mean, we got Stephen going after his 10th novel right now.
Right. Well,
Don't hesitate. That's right.
I'm like I say, I'm retired. I'm living large. My weeks are 6 Saturdays and 1 Sunday. So life is good, and I'm having fun writing these books.
Yeah, that. Well, I've never heard it like that, though, but I like that. Yes, definitely. 6 Saturdays and 1 Sunday. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't you forget to dare to be different. And until next time, guys, bye. Thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you'll be notified the next time that I upload. And don't forget to dare to be different. Until next time, guys.
I dare to be different. I dare